Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Greetings and welcome to a mid-March edition of Around the Hearn, probably the first of two this week because I've got a big guest in the world of college and the NFL, and Mike Elston, a former St. Mary's Roughrider state champion. It's been a little bit everywhere across the Midwest and taken his defensive talents now out to Los Angeles to be a part of the Chargers organization with head coach Jim Harbaugh after leaving the University of Michigan and Notre Dame the last handful of years. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you do too, because I love talking to Mike. I've talked to him a handful of times, and not only is he great people, he's got a great perspective about a lot of things that go on in the world of college and on the NFL. I wish him nothing but the best, because 2 national titles at his alma mater in the University of Michigan, and he says we want to win a Super Bowl out there in the big spaceship that they've got called SoFi Stadium. I wish him all the best of luck in the world. You'll hear from him coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But first, a little bit of look at high school wrestling finishing up this past weekend. Wapakoneta's Jace Nouse, a perennial state contender, finishes up his brilliant senior career with a state runner-up trophy at 220 pounds. Abe Delano from Ayersville, well, he's a state champ, 5 pounds less at 215 in Division III. And then the St. Mary's duo, Bo Hertenstein and Tate Heisey, the first St. Mary's duo to compete for state titles. And according to the Daily Standard, just the third in Grand Lake history to do so. Slide is Jim Gray, who was a runner-up in 1982 at 145. Tate finishes as the state champ at 126. Bo as the runner-up at 157 in Division III, and they had a great party of folks out celebrating them when they got home at around midnight the other night. Congratulations to them. Zach Reber ended up finishing as a consolation match winner, and it finished on the podium as well. So congratulations to all of those young men and to all the young men and women who got to be a part of the state wrestling championships this past weekend. Basketball, one piece of news. Callie Gregory, up for Max Prep's Athlete of the Week. Had a big week last week in the regional wins to get to state. They will play on a Thursday at 1 o'clock. They'll play down there at UD Arena and take on the Fort Laramie Redskins, who on the next episode later this week, hopefully tomorrow or on Thursday if you're hearing this on Tuesday, you'll hear from at least Carlos Siegel and hopefully Coach Mark Gregory as well, and maybe even Troy Yant, just to throw in some more topical things. You can hear those games on K94 and on WZOQ radio as well. But tonight, boys basketball takes center stage at BGSU. It'll be Z Sports Live, who will have coverage of the Pandora Boa game. You got LCC up there after a big win last weekend against Marion Local as well in Wapakoneta. Wednesday night, WZOQ Radio, 8 o'clock, will be the OG boys. They'll be in action. Their girls will be taking on Portsmouth on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock, also on WZOQ Radio, hoping for a Titan blue and gold Saturday. But as odd as it is, there are baseball scrimmages happening today in a couple of hours as I tape this. And that means this weekend, I'm excited that one of the episodes that's coming for Around the Hearn, you can hear live as it happens on Sunday. This Sunday at noon on WZOQ Radio. It'll be all the coaches from the Putnam County League, and then Ottawa Glandorf thrown in there as well, because they're in Putnam County. They're just not in the PCL. But all those coaches are nice enough to come spend some time with me in Ottawa. And then you can hear the NWC show starting at around 3 o'clock, I believe, on Z Sports 3. One piece of basketball news from the collegiate ranks. Nathan Bruns from Marion Local and the University of Findlay becomes the first Oiler to ever be named All-Conference 5 times. 3 times he was a first-team recipient. 2 times, including this year, he was a second-place finisher. For the Oilers, whose baseball team are already out making big waves. And then Ohio Northern, their baseball team as well, just got a no-hitter the other day. So a lot of things to get to in the spring edition, but we're finishing up. We're talking about football, talking about the NFL. That's when it come back. We'll talk to Mike Elston here on Around the Hearn. At Lee Kitzel Sales and Service, 650 West Irvin Road in Van Wert, we guarantee our best price for every new Chevrolet and GMC every day, always. At Lee Kitzel's, we also guarantee you'll come back happy with our service after the sale and earn top dollar for your trade-in, no matter what condition it's in. Not sure what's right for your next vehicle? Stop on out at 650 West Irvin Road and let our trained and helpful sales professionals put you in the right vehicle today, or browse online at leekitzel.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Back now as we take a look at folks who started in Northwest Ohio and now have reached a little further west, and a guy who's been all over the Midwest and now residing in L.A. and the defensive line coach of the Los Angeles Chargers in Mike Elston. Have you gotten used to hearing that as your introduction yet?
No, it's actually the first time I've been introduced as a coach at the Chargers, so I appreciate it. It sounds pretty good, though. I like it.
I would imagine that, the weather makes it sound a lot nicer, too, because it's not great out here right now.
Yeah, I was actually going to go to the beach today, so the weather's nice, it's exciting, and beautiful sunshine out right now.
You're a Midwestern guy at heart. You've been in the Midwest, EMU, CMU, Cincinnati, pretty much anybody who's got any more than one or two letters in their name, but does that mean you have to learn how to surf?
No, I won't be on the beach that much. I stay pretty busy with my work, and then when I'm not working, I'm going to be with the family. So today was a beach day just because my family's not here yet. So I don't have to surf. I'm not going to surf.
I won't tell your wife and daughter you said it that way.
Thank you.
I think you should just have your group meetings, your defensive meetings. You should have them at the beach.
Yeah, if we were a little closer, maybe we could. But no, we're going on to win the Super Bowl, so there won't be a lot of beach time for us and the boys. So it's going to be a lot of work. It's
crazy, though, your last handful of years, you've been around in that you were at Notre Dame for a long time, and you go through pretty much anything they've got to offer for you. You cleaned up the offices, special teams, defensive, linebackers, assistant head coach. I think maybe you made spaghetti in your free time. And then you go to Michigan for a couple of years, and you win your second national championship. What's the last couple of years been like kind of just for you?
Yeah, the move from Notre Dame to Michigan was challenging, professionally and personally. We stayed at Notre Dame for 12 years. The kids, that's all they knew. Put one daughter from kindergarten through the 11th grade. So I moved her when she was going into her senior year. So, personally, that was a tough time to move my family, but I wanted a change. I wanted a little bit different of a challenge, wanted to be a part of a conference, wanted to go back to my alma mater. So for the first time in my career, I did something kind of, selfish for me, and asked the family to come along for the ride. So challenging couple years, but obviously, we adapted both, with the football part of it and with our family part of it. And it was a great 2 years, wouldn't trade it in for anything. And everybody had a lot of success in high school with my daughters, and my oldest daughter's now down at Miami of Ohio. So she's flourishing. So the move challenged her, but she did a phenomenal job, and everybody else is flourishing too. So, and then on the football side of it, obviously, we won a lot of games. We only lost one game in the 2 years that I was there. So we had a great staff, great players, great culture, and I worked for the best head coach in the country and the best defensive coordinator. So it was a great move for me, in hindsight, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
Was it a harder conversation of, hey, I would really like to do this, I would really like your guys' blessing with, say, yourself or with your daughters of, I know you only have 1 year left, sweetheart, but this is a good thing for all of us?
Yeah, it didn't take a lot. I mean, I did have that conversation with her in particular because it was going to impact her the most. But she knew what my aspirations were. She knew that I wanted to, change where I was working, change my venue, and just for my own mental, improvement. She was great. But I did have that conversation with her. I gave her the option, and And she gave me the blessing, and obviously so did my other daughters and my wife. But and not that I didn't have that conversation with my wife, Beth. I had that with her first, and she was ready to go the moment I said the words. So, yeah, they supported it. We are, it's a great family. I love the kids are very supportive. We're supportive of them, and it's a great dynamic.
You follow the age-old rule: happy wife, happy life. You got to run it up the boss chain first to make sure that it's going to be a good thing.
That's right, exactly. Well, it got her closer to her family, so. By about a half hour to 45 minutes from South Bend, moving to Ann Arbor, we're closer to St. Mary's, where we both still have family. So it's a little easier for the grandchildren to get down to see their grandparents.
And I know we talked about this a little bit last time that we talked back in 21 of just kind of trying to update folks. I mean, how often now, I would imagine it's harder with everything that you have going on, but how often do you guys get back to Grand Lake and be able to see the family?
Well, my wife and daughters get back more often than I do. I'm probably once a year, over the holidays, maybe, the Christmas holidays if I can, but not much more than that. I'm busy with, I was busy with a lot of recruiting. I won't be now. So maybe I make it back, but most relatives come up and see us and either come to a game or something. They would have come to a Michigan game or something, a Notre Dame game. But, yeah, I don't make it back as often as I'd like. And my friends that I have back there, they come up to a game or something maybe once or twice a year. So it's when I'm done with recruiting and traveling, the last thing I want to do is jump in a car for 3 hours and drive. So and now that I'm in L.A., it'll be a lot less. So may not make it back there often.
Well, I would be willing to bet that there will be a lot of family who will say, I mean, I guess we could come to L.A. and see you guys.
Yeah. We bought a small house, though, so we don't have a lot of room. They'll have to stay in a hotel.
That's too bad. That might be the smartest thing, really, that you've done in this whole adventure is, oh, sorry, we didn't buy the big house. You guys can't stay with us.
Yeah. Well, my youngest daughter, Isabella, her first question was, Dad, how close is the house to the beach? And I said, well, it's a lot closer than our Michigan home, honey, so it won't really matter.
It's a much shorter transit, even in California. It's kind of
That's
a wild
right.
week for you guys. I mean, the way that kind of with the combines coming up, and I wanted to ask you, though, kind of about that you go from recruiting and you kind of have to, I mean, there's no like gradient where you fall off of that. You go cold turkey when you switch jobs of, all right, I kind of have to tell kids, I mean, I don't work here anymore. Here's somebody else's number. How hard of a thing was that? Because I know you specifically build relationships with these kids to try to get them to come to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, the hardest conversations are with your current players, having the kind of success that we had and the development that you've already, put these young men through. So maybe unlike other coaches, I was very transparent with the players that we had just won the national championship with about what I was doing, why I was doing what I was doing, exploring this opportunity to go to the NFL. I didn't have that conversation with a lot of recruits, guys that were committed to Michigan. I was transparent with them. They understood what I was weighing as I was weighing my options. But I probably get 5 or 6 text messages or emails currently from, players that don't know in the recruiting process that I've taken an NFL job. So I just let them know that I've moved on, and someone else from the university will reach out to you. I'm not a matchmaker. I'm not going to necessarily connect you with everybody, but I'll give you a name and here's who you can contact.
Now, you've been doing recruiting since you go back to EMU over 20 years. How has that changed in the last handful of years? Because I know that a big thing is the NIL and what can you do for me, and it's more transparent now, I guess, of, all right, what am I going to get from this other than a degree possibly from University of Michigan and being the best spot to go to the NFL? Was it a bigger headache the last couple of years overall?
Yeah, I mean, recruiting is challenging in a lot of areas. You're building relationships. You're trying to get a young man to come to your university for the right reasons for his development, like you said. Back when I started recruiting, it was about transformational development, not transactional, conversations. And rightfully so, the players in college football should be getting paid. And they are getting paid. They should get some form of revenue sharing from, the big contracts that conferences are getting. But it's the NIL world. It's a very challenging platform right now for recruiting, especially when you do it the way we were doing it at Michigan, which is, we want guys to pick Michigan for the university, for the academics, for their development. And, so there's other schools that don't do it that way, right? They make it more transactional and about the money and the transfer portal makes it challenging, which is, the kids should have the right to move on if their coaches move on. And it is a different world right now in recruiting, and it makes it more challenging, but I think we navigated it as well as anybody could. I don't miss my time. I wouldn't trade it in for anything on how I was doing recruiting, but it's a different pace here in the NFL. You're doing a lot of evaluating, but you're not doing a ton of recruiting, which is exciting. I don't spend 110 nights out of the year in a hotel room, flying all over the country. So for my family, that's going to be great. And for me personally, it'll be awesome. But yeah, the recruiting part is very, very challenging, but it's always been challenging. The NIL and the transfer portal have made it more challenging. But I believe that we navigated that as well as anybody at the University of Michigan.
Talking to Mike Elston, the defensive line coach of the LA Chargers, and you go through a couple of state titles at St. Mary's. You play for just a tremendous coach in Skip Bachman. How much did that process of being recruited and kind of, everybody fawning when you end up at Michigan and you go through playing linebacker to kind of help out maybe what you learned there in that process to help you out later in that job?
Yeah, well, the recruiting process when I was in high school was completely different than it is now. You didn't get offered a scholarship until the beginning of your senior year, typically, depending, it didn't matter how good you were. Nowadays, young men are getting offered as freshmen in high school, sometimes even earlier. And the offers don't necessarily mean as much right now at that age, but it's the recruiting process has accelerated so much. But at the end of the day, when you cut through all of the bull crap, it's about relationships. And you want to be wanted. You want to go where you're cared for. You want to go where you're going to be developed. And you want to go where you have a great relationship with the people. And I still believe till this day, it's about relationships. And that's why I made the decision to go to the University of Michigan. I had a better relationship with that coaching staff. I felt that they cared about me more than any other staff and about my development. And that's the one piece of advice I give to recruits, even till this day. Do not make it a financial decision. Do not make it about the glitz and the glamour. Make it about the people on that campus and in that coaching staff, and you won't be wrong. And that's the best advice I can give anybody.
I know with being recruited and going from Skip Bachman to Lloyd Carr, both guys obviously spent a lot of time with high school kids. I mean, Coach Carr was a high school assistant for a long time before he got into the college realms. What was that transition like for you between those two guys?
Oh, well, college football, high school to college is like eye-opening, shocking. The coaching is similar, that part of it, the consistency, the holding young men accountable for their actions, holding them accountable for what they're doing. The coach, that piece is very similar, especially when you come from the program that I came from with an incredible coaching staff, not just Skip Bachman, but all those guys that I had the experience of being with on a daily basis. That part of it's very similar, but college football in general is just so much different than high school football. So that was a big culture shock, a big shock to the system. But the coaching part of it, the love that Skip Bachman had for his players, and the same thing that Lloyd Carr and Gary Moeller was the actual head coach when I came to Michigan. And I love him, till this day of what he was able to do for me and the relationship that he and I had. And then Lloyd took over for him. But yeah, the head coach means a lot to the players. And if you know that they care about you and love you, you're going to play harder for them.
And I honestly forgot that. I was thinking because Lloyd was the coach when you were an assistant, or when you were a grad assistant, that when you guys won in 97, I always forget because Gary's from Lima. So, I mean, he knew the area you were from to begin with. Yeah,
and Gary, God rest his soul, just passed away a couple years ago. I actually went down to his celebration. He meant a lot to a lot of people, and people sometimes do forget that he was, the head football coach at Michigan, but he had a lot of great success there, and he went on to have great success after Michigan. But just an incredible man.
And speaking of Michigan, I mean, your run in college, you go to the NFL, and you really can't have a better end of that story. I mean, when you really start coaching, you get a national title, and the Daily Standard, I love your quote of, "Why would I do anything else? We won a national title my first year." Your last year, You ended up winning a national title too. You do go something else, but I mean, how many people do you think get that true kind of finality and great bookmark?
Yeah, it's probably not that many. It was great to do it at my alma mater. To do it in the fashion that we did, just to absolutely brutalize and punish everybody that we played. It was a lot of fun.
And it's an oddity, just kind of the way that things work out. I mean, you guys beat up on a team so bad their coach leaves to go take a team that was also in the Final Four, because we're just in a weird world. But what was that like, standing on the sideline that last handful of seconds of, come on, hurry up, get to 0, let's go, confetti, where's my family, all of that?
Yeah, no, it was surreal. It's you don't get that feeling often. And it's a rare occasion, so you just soak it all in. And the moment Mike Sanders still got that final interception, we all kind of looked at each other. I looked at the players, and I saw tears in their eyes. And I don't know that people can appreciate the amount of work that these young men put in to sometimes fall short of that goal, sometimes fall short of that the final seconds winding down. But to see it come to fruition, and then to see the reaction of the tears of joy, man, that was a moment. That was a moment I'll never forget.
I don't know if you know this, but you might be the only guy that might know the answer to this. Do you have a special person? Is it a grad assistant that goes to the locker room and gets everybody's phones after the game's over? Because that's always the first thing I see afterwards.
Yeah, the guys sprint in. They in the national championship game, they sprinted in to grab their phones. That's a moment that they're going to want recorded, that they are going to want on their Instagram. Yeah, I mean, the world has changed in that regard from when we won the state championship to living those memories and photos of other people taking pictures. But yeah, they just run in, and probably one guy runs in and grabs 10 phones, like, hey, grab mine on their way in. But no, they actually run in themselves and grab it.
Because I always just try to picture, Skip Bachman or Doug Fry just kind of running in there and, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? We just won. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, that's something that wouldn't fly with Skip Bachman.
Yeah, he'd be, what are you doing? And he'd bring out a rotary dial phone, and how's that going to help you?
Yeah.
When you get to L.A., you go through the last month and how crazy that's been. When you go into SoFi and you walk down the hallway, I assume you have an office somewhere. Was it then that you maybe sat at your desk for the first time, that it all kind of, you sat there for a second and took it all in?
Yeah, we when I got here, so the offices are not in LA right now. They're down in Costa Mesa. So it's about an hour from SoFi. But our offices are moving, our program's moving up to, the organization's moving up to El Segunda, which is right next to SoFi. But yeah, you sit at your desk and you look at all the Chargers logos everywhere, and the NFL logo on everything, and it's a lifelong dream accomplished. And then you from looking up, you look down at your desk and you realize how much work you have. So it doesn't last long before you realize, okay, I have to get to work. I can't just soak this all in on day one. I gotta get ready for the combine. I gotta get ready for free agency. I gotta get ready for the practices to begin. I gotta meet the players. I gotta evaluate the players. So there's a lot to do in day one. And but yeah, you take a few minutes to soak that in, because it's a lot of work that's gone into arriving at this point.
You talked about it a little bit, and I had a handful of people ask me when I said I was going to talk to you about this. You talked about Coach Harbaugh and kind of another connection of him being from Toledo and being, right up the road and all that. What is it about that man? Because a handful of his staff decided, hey, he's going, we're all moving to the West Coast. What is it about him that's so special that all of these coaches that work for him wanted to continue to go work for him?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I could say. He cares deeply about the people that care deeply about football. And when you love football as a player and you love football as a coach, that's what he's about. I mean, he's all about the development of young men. He's about teaching and training young men. And same thing with the coaching staff. If you show him that you're all about the game and you're in this for the right reasons, then he takes care of you. And I am. I mean, for those reasons, and we've built a great relationship. He has a ton of respect for the job that I can do. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the man he is and the coach that he is and the competitor that he is. He's a winner, and we all love being surrounded by winners. And that's why when he made the call for me to come to the Chargers, it wasn't a hard decision for me to follow, because you know exactly what you're going to get. And yeah, I love the man, and he's taken great care of my family and I, and I would have followed him at whichever NFL job he would have taken.
When the NFL draft comes in about a month and a half, Chargers have the 5th pick, but it's back home, near home in Detroit. Are you going to be working from El Segundo, or do you actually get to go back home and maybe work up there in Michigan for a couple of days?
No, I'll be here. I'll be here for the draft in our offices. I'm not overly involved, but I'll be in the office if they need me to do anything. I'm there, but yeah, I don't know what my role will be, if any, during the draft process, but I will not be in Detroit. I will be here in LA working and getting ready for the draft.
And maybe skipping time to go out to the beach.
Yeah, I won't be doing that.
I mean, no, boss, I wasn't even thinking about that.
No, not at all.
Well, I cannot say thank you to you and your lovely wife enough for spending some time with me and setting this up. I always love talking to you. I love your journey, just kind of looking at it from a small town kid who just kept pushing, and now finally getting to move out of the Midwest where you don't have to deal with snow anymore.
Yeah, we're not going to miss the snow. We are going to miss the people, the relationships we've built. But, this journey will continue, and, we'll make it back to the Midwest at some point. But for right now, we're going to enjoy being on the West Coast and take it all in and just enjoy the ride, because who knows how long it's going to last. But we always, as a family, we always put both feet on the ground where we are and go to work and do our best wherever we're at. And it just so happens that right now we're in LA, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, I know everybody back at home is super proud of you, and they wanted me to make sure that I point that out.
Well, I appreciate that. And a lot of people back in St. Mary's have had a hand in where I'm at today. They know who they are. You know, I probably don't tell them enough, but I try to tell them as much as I can. And, you know, we're going to miss the Midwest, and they're more than welcome to come out and watch a game. They're going to have to get a hotel, but I do appreciate everything that the people from St. Mary's have done for me and the support that they've had. And I always try to give back as much as I can. That's why I do these things, to, you know, share my story, our journey as a family, and I'll continue to do that. So thank you for having me on, Mike.
That's Mike Elston, the defensive line coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. We've got some more when we come back here in just a couple of minutes. Hey, you! Are you struggling to stay awake in the morning? Do you just need a jump start to your day? Then you need to find some Revision Espresso coffee from the Rubato Coffee Lab in Columbus Grove. Launched in April of 2019, Rubato Coffee is fueled by a passion for outstanding coffee, held by the owner and head roaster in Aaron Bremer. No matter what type of coffee you're looking for, RubatoCoffeeLab.com has it. Can't make a choice? Check out their sample pack. Rubato Coffee Lab in Columbus Grove. Made by locals who care about you and your coffee. Hey, thanks for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Mike Elston. That'll run at Wednesday nights if you're in the Grand Lake area. If you didn't hear it, somebody wants to hear it. Around 7 o'clock on K94 as well. But high school basketball taking center stage this week as we wrap up the winter season. The spring, depending on what day you're looking outside, is just hours away. It's supposed to be 60 today. It's supposed to be beautiful. Head on out to the Carriot tonight. If you are in Ottawa, wish off the OG Lady Titans well. Go up to Bowling Green and see Lima Central Catholic play and see Panorama Boa play. Those should be terrific games. Toledo Christian and PG should be a banger as well. But more to come this week. More basketball talk and baseball, softball, track, all just right around the corner. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to Mike Elston as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Around the Hearn.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Michael Hearn PBP for more great area content.